You're hooked up to a simple brainwave headset, the kind anyone can buy online, and a researcher asks you to repeat just the first line of the Lord's Prayer. Within 40 seconds the live graph shows two clear changes: a smooth rise in the calm focus band that techies call alpha, and a dip in the spiky fight or flight band called high beta. No candles, no church organ, just words and breath. The moment you finish, your shoulders drop, pulse slows a few beats, and a gentle clarity settles behind your eyes. The test has been run on athletes, truck drivers, and even teenagers who've never opened a Bible. The body responds the same way. Why does a handful of words do what 5 minutes of scrolling meditation apps can't? The short answer is rhythm and meaning working together. Rhythm rides the breath, switching the heart from sprint mode to cruise. Meaning gives the mind a story it trusts so the frontal lobe stops scanning for danger. Stack the two and you get a fast track to the reset button most people hunt for in coffee, sugar, or endless podcasts. Today you'll learn how each line of the prayer nudges a different part of that reset, using plain English, zero preachy detours, and exercises you can test on the spot. By the end, you'll know how to run a 7-minute software update for your nervous system anytime, anywhere, whether you call yourself religious, spiritual, or flat-out skeptical. Say the opening phrase out loud, "Our Father who art in heaven." Notice how it naturally takes about 6 seconds. That timing is no accident. Breathing coaches teach the same 6-second loop, in for 3, out for 3, to steady the heart and clear mental fog. Break the line into syllables and you'll feel a built-in sway. The open vowels, ah, o stretch the exhale, while soft consonants r, f, and add a quiet hum in the mouth and throat. That hum vibrates tissue around the vagus nerve, the body's main calming switch, sending a message straight to the heart. Stand down, all clear. Think of each syllable as a gentle nudge. One nudge slows the heartbeat, another loosens the diaphragm, a third boosts blood flow to the thinking part of the brain. Say the line twice, and those nudges add up to a steady push, like rocking a boat in perfect rhythm until the waves smooth out. Neuroscientists might call it resonance or entrainment, but you can feel it without any jargon. The chest opens, the jaw unclenches, and a quiet alertness replaces background chatter. From here the rest of the prayer follows the same 6-second pulse, chaining breath to sound all the way through. It's less like reading a paragraph and more like stepping onto a treadmill set to the perfect pace. You stay on rhythm without effort. That, in plain language, is why these ancient words still calm the nerves of people who've never set foot in a sanctuary. The body likes the beat, so the mind goes along for the ride. Keep a steady pace while repeating the next lines of the prayer and several things start happening under the skin. Breathing lengthens without force, which signals the heart to settle into a smooth rise and fall rhythm scientists call coherence. When that rhythm appears, blood pressure eases, and the stress chemical cortisol begins to taper off within 3 minutes. The change is subtle. You feel it first as extra space between thoughts, then as a gentle warmth in hands or feet. At the same time, vocal vibration travels through the bones of the face and the collar area, nudging a network of sensors wrapped around the throat and chest. Those sensors report back to the brainstem, confirming that the environment is safe. Once the brainstem accepts that verdict, it releases a brief pulse of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that sharpens attention. Many people notice colors looking slightly brighter or background noise fading. It is not mysticism. It is a normal side effect of the nervous system switching from guard duty to exploration mode. Hold this state for 5 full cycles of the prayer and simple blood tests, done in several pilot studies, show a bump in immunoglobulin A, the body's first line of defense against cold and flu viruses. Heart rate monitors register a small but reliable increase in variability, a marker linked to resilience under pressure. The effects are the opposite of what happens when doom-scrolling headlines. There the breath shortens, the heart rhythm breaks into jagged peaks, and cortisol climbs. With the prayer, breath and sound act like a pair of hands smoothing a crumpled sheet until the fabric lies flat. Beyond sound and breath, the prayer relies on a pattern of mirrored phrases that guide the mind through a quiet sequence of shifts. Each statement sets up a contrast: heaven and earth, give and forgive, lead and deliver. The brain's prediction center loves symmetry. It perks up when a sentence balances 2 ideas, then relaxes when the second idea lands exactly where grammar hints it will. That quick jolt of interest followed by closure works like a mental massage. Alertness rises just enough to absorb the meaning, then releases before tension builds. Repeating balanced lines also trains the attention span. Modern life scatters focus across pings and feeds, but a structure that flows A to B steadies the spotlight. Reading scans show reduced activity in brain areas linked to distraction when people chant symmetrical text compared with free-form prose. Listeners often describe a sense of moving down a staircase one even step at a time, never stumbling, never rushing. By the time the words reach "on earth as it is in heaven," the mind is primed to accept the following requests without inner debate, making the final sections feel less like pleas and more like settled convictions. The wording isn't poetic filler, it is a sequence carefully shaped to focus attention, soothe threat alarms, and open a channel for calm intention to turn into clear action. Monks in Tibet, Sufis in North Africa, and Benedictines in Europe use chants that settle into a 6-second breath rhythm. Linguists who recorded these groups found the same rise and fall wave in the audio track even though the languages differ. Medical teams placed heart sensors on participants and saw nearly identical curves. Breath deepens, heartbeats line up, and a calm focus wave appears in the brain. The Lord's Prayer, when said without rushing, lands on the same timing. This match suggests that different cultures arrived at a natural pace that steadies human physiology. The words change, the syllables change, yet the body response repeats. A steady rhythm gives nerves and hormones a signal of safety, so the brain moves from watching for threats to storing new memories and solving problems. The pattern also supports group cohesion. When voices share a breath cycle, eardrums pick up gentle phase alignment, and the brain's social circuits mark the event as cooperation. Studies using simple earbud microphones showed that people who chant together for 10 minutes report higher trust and are more willing to help strangers immediately afterward. The effect holds even when listeners do not understand the language. What matters is the shared timing, not the doctrine. A plate covered with fine sand sits above a speaker in a quiet lab. The technician turns a dial to 110 Hz, and the grains arrange themselves into a clear circle. At 150 Hz they stretch into a hexagon without human touch. This field of study, known as cymatics, shows that sound produces stable geometry in physical matter. Researchers at a Swiss institute played recordings of various prayers through water dishes and photographed the ripple patterns. Slow, even recitation of the Lord's Prayer produced concentric rings with smaller spirals nested inside. Faster speech broke the rings and left scatter. Water makes up most of the brain and a large share of every cell. When vocal cords generate a stable frequency range, that vibration passes through bone and soft tissue before reaching the surrounding air. Inside the skull, micropulses travel through fluid channels, nudging neurons into timing clusters. Imaging tools that track calcium waves show that coherent vocal sound induces orderly flashes across the cortex, whereas random syllables of the same volume do not. Each line of the prayer fits within a narrow band that supports this internal order. Sound moves particles, particles nudge cells, and cells adjust electrical rhythm. The geometry on the plate has a matching echo in neural firing. Consistent practice etches that pattern deeper, making it easier for the brain to return to organized activity during stress. Groups in different cities once joined an online experiment run by a university team that tracks Earth field sensors. At a set hour, each group recited the Lord's Prayer at the same slow pace while wearing simple heart rate monitors. During the 10-minute window, most participants showed their highest heart rate variability of the week, a marker linked to resilience. At the same time, magnetometer stations 2 continents away registered a faint smoothing of background noise, a pattern the lab had previously seen during mass meditation events and total solar eclipses. The reading faded once the group stopped. The data do not prove a planetary network, yet they hint that synchronized calm may bleed into the wider environment. Closer to home, family therapists note that when one member adopts a daily slow prayer routine, the household climate often shifts. Arguments cool sooner, pets rest more, and even Wi-Fi sleep trackers show deeper rest in nearby bedrooms. The person who recites becomes a metronome, breath and voice set a pace others unconsciously follow. Over weeks the effect compounds, turning a tense living room into neutral ground without scripted conflict talks. Shared timing again sits at the center. One voice steady enough to pull others into the same calmer beat. Halfway through the prayer the wording pivots to forgiveness. Neuroscientists document that dwelling on resentment lights up the same threat circuits as physical pain. Rehearsing an old slight keeps the stress switch half on. Saying the forgiveness line while holding the memory of a grudge places two opposite commands in the brain at once. Keep the threat alive or let it drop. The clash forces a choice. Repetition tilts the balance toward release because the wording presents release as a settled fact, not a future option. Small studies with MRI scanners show that when subjects speak a forgiveness phrase, the amygdala, our alarm bell, quiets and the prefrontal region that plans future action takes the lead. Blood samples taken an hour later carry lower levels of C-reactive protein, an inflammation marker tied to chronic disease. Participants also score better on tasks that demand flexible thinking. Letting go frees space that the brain can use for problem solving instead of defense. Daily practice reinforces the circuit. Each time you say the line, the mind reviews stored grudges, tags one for release, and files it away with less sting. Over weeks the backlog shrinks. The body feels the change as lighter sleep, steadier blood pressure, and quicker return to calm after surprises. Forgiveness is not moral wallpaper. It is a neural reset that clears room for the final lines of the prayer to land on a quieter, more adaptable mind. Here is a 7-minute routine to switch the code on. Find a place where you can stand or sit without interruption. Keep the spine long but relaxed, feet flat, shoulders loose. Rest a hand on the lower ribs. This will help you feel each breath fill down rather than high in the chest. 1. Start with one slow inhale through the nose for a silent count of 3, then let the air leave for the same count. Repeat this simple cycle twice to settle in. 2. Speak the first line of the Lord's Prayer aloud, matching the same 3-second inhale, 3-second exhale tempo. Feel the ribs move under your hand. 3. Continue through the next 2 lines, still pacing the breath. On each exhale, allow the last word to trail into a soft hum for half a second. The vibration keeps the throat open and the calming nerve engaged. 4. At the midpoint, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Pause the voice. Keep breathing in the same rhythm while focusing on the chest area for 2 cycles. Picture the chest widening on each inhale and settling on each exhale. 5. Return to voiced recitation, holding the tempo until the final word, Amen. End with 3 silent breaths, eyes closed or half open, letting the room come back into focus. 7 minutes covers 5 full rounds. If you wear a fitness band, check heart rate variability afterward. Most people see a small rise even on the first try. Note simple signs: hands warmer, mind quieter, colors slightly more vivid. These shifts confirm that sound and breath have nudged chemistry and attention into a steadier lane. Treat the routine as an experiment. Practice once in the morning for a week, jot 2 lines about mood and focus, then review. Patterns speak louder than theory.